You're open to all possibilities. It's not like I hear me. Hear me.
Hi, Donna.
Hey,
Hello,
How are you?
good, how are you?
I'm okay. Running,
Just
not really. I guess I'm sort of running a tad late, except for now I'm on time because nothing went wrong. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
yeah, and then if you ask him a question, he will go off into the encyclopedia knowledge. And you go, geez, how do people feel about me? Yeah. Oh, I was just. What do you think?
Hello.
Hi there. So, answer to a question, Kitty is still hospitalized, maybe doing better.
I'm sorry.
It's David's kitty.
I mean, I was.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think she'll be okay?
It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. It's kidney problems and pancreatitis.
Ay. For a cat, that's really tough.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think I just admitted Teresa.
There she
Hey.
is.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
She said, "I'm Mary Ann." And it wasn't like Mary Ann. She was trying to tell me, Mary Ann. She was trying to tell me I was here. And for the life of me, and I swear to God, I mean, we think she did, but I figured it out.
Okay. Teresa, I'm not going to grab the computer tonight because my car has the lack of security issues. But do I need to be the one grabbing it tomorrow?
Sorry, I stepped away, Laura. What about?
I said even though I'm here, I'm not going to grab the computer tonight because of my car's lack of security.
Oh, I'll come
Yeah.
by, I'll get it tomorrow.
You'll get it tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean-
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So shall we what should we do? Call the meeting to order or wait? Yes, you're saying yes. Okay, it is 7:01 p.m. on June 4th, 2025, and I am calling the meeting of the United Neighborhoods Planning and Zoning Committee to order. My name is Laura Myers. I'm the co-chair of this committee, and I also serve on the board of UNNC. I'm going to pull up the agenda, but in the meantime, if other people would introduce themselves, and I'm going to say, starting with Steve, because I'm going to ask in the order I see people. So Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Peckman. I am a resident of Jefferson Park, and I'm a stakeholder and will vote on anything that we vote on.
Thank you. Teresa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Masonette. I'm on the board of the UNNC. I represent the West Adams Avenues, and I will vote if there's something to vote on.
Thank you. Young.
Hi, I'm from West Adams area, but I have a lot of questions to ask.
Okay.
my next door demolition has gone, taken over my life.
Like, yeah, this is introductions. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm always having questions, so advice.
All right. Donna,
Hi, Donna Jones, West Adams Avenues. I'm a stakeholder.
and so we just did item 1, other than we are now reviewing the agenda. So on tonight's agenda, we'll have general public comments, and then the main item is number 3, proposed community impact statement and possible letter regarding Council File 25-0002-S19, and this is regarding SB 79. So that's the agenda item. I see Caesar has come into the room, so in a moment, I'll ask you to introduce yourself. So, so this item moves forward to, well, depending on what we do tonight, it is on tomorrow night's governing board agenda. So it either moves forward, and if we don't do anything tonight, it doesn't move forward, and we would cancel the agenda item for tomorrow night. And then we have follow-up to previous cases, ENS, old business, and adjournment. So I'm hoping we're not spending more than an hour on tonight. Caesar, we've already gone through introductions, but can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Caesar. I live in Jefferson Park.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and you're in area 5, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, yes.
Okay, so basically for planning and zoning committee meetings, anyone who is a stakeholder may obviously participate fully in the discussion, may make motions, may vote. Our actions here at the committee are recommendations to the governing board. Okay, so back to this. I'm gonna undo this, stop the share, say back to the agenda. The first item is general public comment on items not on the agenda. Steve?
So yes, unbeknownst to me, there was a meeting announced, I guess, a while ago by city planning to announce the reintroduction of the oil and gas ordinance that the court ruled was illegal. And that was yesterday afternoon at 5:30. And they have not released the revised ordinance, but they claim that new state law signed by Governor Newsom allows the city to do what the court said it can't do. So they got the state to change the law, and they're going to reintroduce the city ordinance, essentially banning over a 20-year period oil drilling and maintenance of existing wells. So they said that they changed the ordinance slightly, but they did not share any of the modifications at the meeting. So
And whose meeting was it?
I'm sorry?
Whose meeting was it?
City planning.
Had a 5:30 in the evening meeting?
Yep. At 5:30 to 7:30.
Huh, so, okay, like a workshop.
Yep, didn't see it announced anywhere until I got an email from someone in the community asking me if I knew about it, and I said no. So I canceled everything I had to attend the meeting via Zoom. It was not very informative, except to say that the city's going to be pursuing this again based on the new state legislation that was signed by Governor Newsom. So we'll see what happens and whether they actually ever release this new revised ordinance.
That's interesting. So you're gonna follow it and
Yeah.
let us know when we should put it on our agenda?
Yeah, right now there's nothing really to discuss.
Okay. So similarly, Teresa found a council file with another proposal that differently might affect us. And I don't have the council file number in front of me, but essentially Hugo Soto, whatever his full name is, so sorry, and Isabel Jurado introduced a motion to change the cultural heritage ordinance to create a process by which existing historic cultural monument designated HCMs could have their, essentially their backstory revised to include various research topics that have come up through Survey LA. So this all stems from a national trust initiative that's also become a LA Conservancy initiative called the Women's Project. And they've been going through, you know, the 1000s or 1200 historic cultural monuments that exist to see which ones had women's stories, but those stories were not documented.
So this could be a positive modification.
It could, and that would, I think, apply to, you know, Latino history, African American history, you know, whatever, because they've done all of these context statements.
Right.
So, and I mean, like, for example, back in 1994, I nominated the beautiful Craftsman House designed by famous architect Simon and Heinemann at 2515 4th Avenue. So Steve and Teresa, I'll say, otherwise known as David and Ed's house, right? But I nominated it based on the architects and the original, you know, white Victorian era owners, and never mentioned, didn't say a word about a later owner was Ruth Temple, who actually is probably far more important, a pioneering African-American woman doctor here in Los Angeles. And there's actually a county building named after her. She pioneered in public health and getting, you know, kids vaccinated for polio. You know, I mean, contextually, it's a really interesting story, and it is not in the nomination. So this could be good.
That would be great.
But what they did is they reopened the old council file from 2016 when the cultural heritage ordinance was revised. And that could open the doors to other revisions. If they had done a standalone council file, it would be more likely to stay targeted. So, but anyway, and thank you, Teresa, for being on top of all of these council files, because God knows I don't follow them. Are there any other public comments? And we have one more participant in our meeting here in the room.
Hello.
Say more than one word,
Oh, hi, I'm Catherine.
because I think the Zoom thing will catch you.
Just sit over here. Sit here.
I don't know. No, now it's caught you.
Okay.
There you go. Donna.
I wanted to announce that next Wednesday, our final meeting celebrates the grads that have been brought to us. We do it yearly. It's our grad night. There will be food served. We have 5 graduating from high school and 1 from middle school. So all are welcome to celebrate the graduates in the community.
So the we being West Adams Avenues, right?
Yeah,
And the location being the South Seas House where Catherine and I are currently sitting.
yes, that is correct. Food will be served and we will celebrate our seniors.
Okay, thank you. Any other general public comments or announcements?
Can I ask a question? Oh, no. Can I?
Well, Young, you have a question about the demolition next to your house?
Right. It already was demolished and they're cleaning up. But my question is, what happened to you? I mean, to me, house was shaking so much and it was like really scary all day long. And I'm home working on my stuff. And I don't know where to hide.
Where to hide?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inside the house, it's shaking all day long. And I mean, so it's not even like a digging, you know, just like picking up the stuff after they broke the house down. And so I'm just wondering how much damage I would, get from this.
I think you're asking us, but you kind of have to ask the developer. Because the person doing the work is the person responsible if you have damage to your house. So you need to ask so far, is your house okay? Just felt scary?
was like a really like a small earthquakes all day long.
No, I understand, but is your house okay at the moment? No cracking?
I don't know. I mean, I get cracks, right? So I don't know. I haven't examined it, but I just felt it from foundation on. So the question is, I talked to workers, you know,
Yeah.
but they're hired by, you know, company who does demolitions, and they are hired by the developers. So they're like going down, down, down. They don't know the real final boss.
Hey, if you look up the building permit, and the building permit should be right on a fence. It should be right there on the fence, posted. And if it's not, it would be online, but it's supposed to be posted. It will have the name and phone number of the inspector. And you should call that person
Okay.
and ask them to follow up.
Okay. You know, I called it 311.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna be helpful. Look,
Oh.
right out there for them to be doing this work, the building permit is supposed to be posted on the fence so people can see it.
This is from Building and Safety, right, Laura?
Building and safety permit. And if hopefully it's there. If it is not there, it is online. But where you go to the building and safety website, and I can put that in the chat. www.ladbs.org. And if you go to that website, there's a section called online services. And within online services is a property activity. And if you go to that, you can put in the address of the property and it'll come up with the building permits. And that permit will have the name of the inspector and his or her phone number.
Okay, one last question. Should I buy a home insurance? I mean, addition to my regular home insurance about this kind of damages?
Well, if you've already got the damage, it'd be too late to insure against it. But this is their responsibility. And your insurance, I don't know. I mean,
You
again,
should talk to a lawyer.
right.
You should talk to a lawyer.
Yes. Yeah, because we can't really, I understand what you're saying.
They have to be insured and bonded,
But,
and she can go
right.
through them.
Yeah,
If
there's damage, the insurance would be their insurance. But we can't, UNNC can't help you on that. Nor your neighborhood council. I mean, a neighborhood council cannot help you on that.
Right. I'm just like a unit, something to know so much.
Correct. I mean, it's problematic. I know the feeling because I've had quite a bit of construction around my house. And especially if they're digging underground parking, which this one's probably not, that jackhammering can go on, for 1,000, foot radius, you can feel it. But I don't think that was a major project that did that. This one's just on one lot. So probably doesn't have underground parking. But again, you need to ask the building inspector for information and help.
No, I don't.
Okay, so you need to look that up.
So Steve, do you know any lawyer I could hire?
I don't.
Even if we did, we couldn't give you that information. We're just not allowed to do that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, are there any other general public comments? I bet you have some.
I do.
Go ahead.
I do.
And will you introduce yourself?
Catherine Wainwright, 3820 Adams, and I'm just trying to see if there's any more information about 3814. The demolition, I know, got stopped. They did not get their permit,
Oh,
but it is vacant. Everybody is out, yes.
do we know where
No,
Nick
there
went?
was somebody.
I think Nick had a brother somewhere who had a house. He's such a recluse, it's kind of hard to, yeah. But, oh, no, you're talking about Nick.
I am
Nick.
talking about Nick,
Nick
yeah,
with the store.
with the store.
Okay, no, Nick is there. Nick is gonna end up, the store that he has is 2 stories. And the landlord, I guess, is gonna let him live downstairs.
There.
So. On a Pico and Rimpaw.
Yeah,
Or
well,
Pico.
he's very peripatetic, so bad.
Yeah, yeah, he does. So, but he's still moving stuff out. And I don't know if they gave him more time, but he had until June 2nd. I thought you were talking about the other guy.
Yeah,
I was-
no, it's the only person I knew was Nick.
Nick, yeah, he's a crazy fun guy, but yeah, he's still
Alright.
there.
So I don't have any further information. I know that there's a couple of cases pending in court. That is not this one. But I don't have any other information. So I haven't seen any updates.
No updates.
No, well, I have seen.
Yeah,
So, but we can.
I
Have you
know,
talk to Andrew or Hakeem,
I don't know who Andrew is.
boss of Hakeem?
Oh, no, I
Was
spoke
he-
to Hakeem and I spoke to Kamani.
Oh, boss of Andrew.
Okay, and
Okay.
then there was a guy, I'm not sure if you know who this is.
We're using shorthand. These are staffers at Council District 10.
Jeff Camp. Do you know who that
Of
is?
course.
Okay,
He is one of the liaisons for United Neighborhood Council.
okay, so he called me, but I haven't been able to reach him.
Got it.
Um,
Just so you
But-
know, Jeff is the former president of UNNC.
oh, really? Okay, well, they said that he would have, most of the information about the neighborhood and what's going on, but I haven't been able to get in
Alright.
touch with him. I know that they referred it to CEQA,
Right.
yeah, and trying to stop it, but I'll give you an interesting fact that's
We
going
can't
on.
Go on and on.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this real quick. So they got the ED1 permits to build, Orion did. Orion has since put the property up for sale.
Correct. I saw that.
You saw that. So what we're trying to figure out is if the ED1 is transferable to the new seller, to the new buyer. And according to the councilwoman's office, it may not be transferable because it goes with the contractor. So currently they're trying to sell the property for 3 times as much as they bought it for. So they're trying to sell it as land with the permits and everything in place. So I'm hoping that it shuts it down for the ED1.
Got it.
Okay, that was it. That's all I
Alright.
got.
Okay, all right, so what we're talking about is a massive project on West Adams Boulevard, which is a designated scenic highway. And so, the issue isn't necessarily, I mean, for you, the issue is anything massive, but the issue for the scenic highway is that they're doing a 0-foot setback when in fact there's a building line of 30 or 40 feet.
40, yeah.
40 feet. And it's also not really, it's not for very low or extremely low income. It was, essentially being advertised already on the Orion housing site versus its development site as luxury housing for young professionals. Because
Isn't
it's
this the project that Councilperson Hutt was opposing?
correct. Unlike the one around the corner from you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they do, it's selective, but yes, this is one, so the sequel would probably relate mostly to that.
Right. So the apartment building is still standing, right?
Well, it
Yes.
sounds like barely, but yeah,
Okay.
because everyone took the money.
Everybody took the money.
Yeah,
They
left
took the
it.
money a long time ago.
Yeah, all right, so I think what we want to do is talk about SB 79 on the item, and I'm sure Caesar's here for that. Well, I shouldn't say that, I think Caesar's here for that, but I know Steve's here for that, and so maybe we should move on. I'm gonna pull the agenda back up. And Steve, I'm gonna apologize, because when we get to the draft community impact statement, I know that I had edited it, but the edited version is that with that one little last thing, urging council to make, do something, got lost. I don't
Okay.
know. So the version I have in the agenda packet is your version, which you play
Okay.
around. Anyway, so this is a proposed community impact statement regarding SB 79, which will, if passed, would establish, and I'm sorry, I'm looking here and not at you guys, but I can't read from the screen from where I'm sitting, so I'm looking away. I know you're all up there. Anyway, it would establish new state zoning standards around train stations and major bus and rapid transit stops that would allow for 7-story multifamily buildings, and some lower height standards up to half a mile away from such stops. The council motion, which was introduced by John Lee and Tracy Park, notes that while the intent of SB 79 may be to address issues around the supply of housing, the bill's provisions further undermines local governance, circumvents local decision-making processes, and imposes unintended burdens on communities. And, the city of Los Angeles has a strong interest in maintaining what little remains of local control over land use and zoning laws to best serve the needs of its residents, ensure community input, and protect the unique character of neighborhoods while still complying with state housing needs. So essentially, the city council motion as it was presented to council by Park and Lee, would oppose SB 79. What's not on the agenda is that this motion has not moved to the full city council. It's at a committee and has sort of stayed there. UNNC's Planning and Zoning Committee will discuss the motion and pending state legislation. That's what we're doing tonight. And as well, a proposed community impact statement and possible letter, I don't know that we've gotten that far, to elected officials regarding the matter. So I'm going to stop the share and Steve, we don't have a draft letter yet, is that correct?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
It's an expansion of the CIS, the Community Impact Statement, with additional material that I've now had an opportunity to read City Attorney Feldstein Soto's letter, which is quite informative. And so I'll be quoting from that as well.
And I believe the reason she went ahead and wrote her own letter, she had every right to, is because it's stalled at city council. And
yeah. So, but there are council members and others from other cities around the state that have sent in their own letters for and against this initiative.
Right. And the Senate voted yesterday. State Senate voted yesterday.
On this initiative?
On this initiative. It's voted late yesterday. And almost didn't, and then did, and it didn't pass, but that was because there were some non-votes as opposed to no votes. And then Senator Wiener was given permission to talk to those people, and one person changed her vote. So it, by the slimmest of margins, did pass and heads now to the Assembly.
So we're done with the Senate and we have to now.
Well, as far as I don't understand the system very well, so I don't know if it's like the federal system that if the Assembly changes it, does it then have to go back to the Senate? I don't know.
But we would have to, if we write a letter, it'd have to go to the various Assembly people representing UNNC's area.
Correct. And
okay, I can do that. Do we know Smallwood Cuevas's vote on this?
She did not vote.
She didn't vote.
Well, this is apparently a thing you do if you don't want to get reamed out for voting either way.
Right.
But it says no. She did I think the equivalent. It's not that she missed the meeting. I don't know. Teresa may have done some more research, but it's called an ND something. It's a process, but I think it would be kind of like our abstain.
Yeah, I get it. So regarding the community impact statement, it now has to be focused on the equivalent of what's going on in the assembly.
Well, I don't know. I think it has to be a focus on the equivalent of, hey, council members, can you get off your, you know what's, and take a stand one way or the other?
Yeah, but we can't make it about SB 79. That's over. It needs
No,
to
it's
be.
not, no, it's not. It stays, it's still called SB 79. They just have to, has pass both sides of the legislature.
So the assembly doesn't have its own equivalent bill,
Correct.
so they get the
I think
SB
correct. Wait,
79.
hang on. I think correct.
Okay. Because at the federal level, the Senate and the House have their own bills that either they are exactly the same or that has to go through reconciliation. I don't know
Yeah,
how
and that's
it
what I'm
works
saying.
in
I
the
don't
state.
know. I don't know the process.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. So we just need to keep the CIS open in terms of language as to whether it's going to be specific to SB 79 or not.
Got it. So, and then the other thing is, one of the reasons I think the city of LA should be voting to oppose it is that they already have in place TODs and TOCs, which
Yeah.
now have a different name of TO something something. But you know, we have most of the stuff already in place, particularly around major, well, transit, meaning like the intersection of Expo and Crenshaw.
Right,
And
but this bill overrides all of that stuff.
yeah, but yes, it does, but what it's overriding ends up being the same thing, is what I'm trying to say, in our
Right,
immediate UNNC boundaries. It's not true for other parts of town.
right. So one of the things that's not in the community impact statement, which will be in the letter, is an outline of the city attorney's objection. And
Mhm.
her major objection, which is a righteous one, is that this bill is an unfunded mandate on all
Right.
municipalities. The Los Angeles estimate of the unfunded mandate to put together the infrastructure and first responder allocations necessary to support what SB 79 is proposing is $1.6 billion approximately for the city of Los Angeles. Now, we know who's going to be paying for that, right? All of us are going to have to pay that bill. So this would essentially be an additional unfunded mandate from the state on the city and the people who live here.
Right, and I think she picked up on something that I actually saw online. The legislative analysis pointed that out and said it's not legal.
Right. He's claiming
the
that it's
independent legislative analysis online.
he's
in the
claiming that
legislative-
it's in violation of the state law, that if they're going to try to press such a mandate, a costly mandate on municipalities, and the state has to pick up the bill. And that's not part of this bill at all.
Right, so that was pointed out. And then the other thing is that they're also doing the high opportunity, back to the high resource or high opportunity areas, and is where it counts, but it's not defined.
Right.
Major transit is defined. They do actually end up defining it, but that they were limiting it to high opportunity, high resource areas is a ill-defined, if at all defined in the thing. I mean, there is a separate state equity map.
But this is really
they
getting
don't
into the
refer-
weeds.
Well, what I'm getting at is, how does it affect UNNC? So it's not quite the weeds, because on the state map and then the local equity map, we are in theory a low opportunity, high barriers, high segregation area.
Right.
So in that sense, in theory, it would not apply, but I'm not sure that everybody's defining, quote, high opportunity in the same way.
The bottom line for me is that we are a low resource community. We've
Right.
been underfunded forever. And that what this bill does is it threatens people's generational equity in their properties by destroying the properties next to them, decreases the value in their property, forces them out, and it totally destroys the generational equity that people are trying to put into their homes and properties so that they can build family structure that can endure over time. So I just see this as a very mean-spirited bill.
All right, can I disagree with you?
Sure.
Have you read the bill?
Yes,
Caesar
in a
has.
way. I just, yeah, don't think that's a fair point. Like, I own my home and well, I'm paying for it, I guess. I don't know. And the bank owns everything, I guess. But I don't see it that way. Like, because I have kids and it's like building equity for them doesn't mean anything if they're not going to be able to have a place to live. So I feel like this is building housing for more people. And the more housing we have, the more people can live in our city. And it's a great city to live in. And if we're not allowing these things to go through, then like,
I
where are
appreciate
we?
what you're saying. However, have you thought about a 10-story apartment building being built next to your house and what that
Yeah,
will do to the value of your house? It will dissolve and eliminate any equity you have in your house.
Okay.
that's okay. And
That's okay? Okay.
yes,
Some of us object to that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
just-
wholly object to that.
Okay. All right. Teresa's the one with the hand up, however. She may object to it, not, but it's her hand that's up.
Yeah, no, I object to it too. And thank you, Steve. That was the comment that I was going to make, that many of us have lived here, not me, but others have lived here for several generations. They have raised their children, especially in Avenues. We have a lot of seniors who've lived here 30, 40, 50 years. And the idea that a large apartment building could be built. Now, we know we're in HPOZ, so we have some protections, but the idea, we're hoping, Steve, that an apartment building could be built next to one of these homes, that house would certainly lose value, and that would be available to those children who, the owners would like to leave their children something, some kind of wealth. And yes, we do need housing, but we have corridors, not the scenic corridor over here on Adams, but there are other corridors where we could put, and we are putting housing on Jefferson right there next where that old auto place, we just, that one just went through the approval. So we are building housing, but it will destroy generational wealth. There's no doubt about that. Thank you.
Just one note on your comment, Teresa.
wait,
It's my understanding
wait,
that the HPOZ rules under ED1 will be absolved with this bill.
Wait, say that again.
I don't know
ED1
that.
currently protects HPOZs. This bill will not allow Mayor Bass to have ED1 implemented. It will override it. HPOZs will no longer be protected areas.
Okay, Donna has her hand up, Catherine had her hand up. Can I want to move the conversation though off of the topic of individuals' wealth or lack thereof.
Yeah,
And just onto the planning and zoning issues. Because I'm not disagreeing with either side. I'm just saying, if we can talk a little bit about what's quote good planning.
Yeah.
And Catherine, then Donna.
I just have a question for Steve. When you say that it overrides Mayor Bass, her ED1 is terrible, but is there a happy medium somewhere in that where HPOZ is still protected? I'm not HPOZ. I wish I was, but I'm not. But because ED1 is what is destroying this neighborhood. And it's allowing these big developers to come in and bypass everything that every real contractor would have to go through. And they don't have to provide parking. So it's a broader picture than generational wealth and all that. It's the way you live. It's being able to walk outside and not have cars in your driveway or blocking the street, or people just not having the quality of life before all this happened. And not to say that we should not have adequate housing. We should, and we should have done this 30 years ago. But they have zillions of properties that the city owns, that the city chooses not to develop. There's a city-owned property on 10th Ave that I was actually trying to buy years ago, and then the city took it over, and it's sitting there. And that's 10 units right there that they could tear down and they could put up a 2 or 3 story building or house people there. But the city doesn't choose to do that. They come into neighborhoods like this because it's not really about housing unhoused people or low income people. Eventually, it's going to be like they're advertising now, luxury for these young techers, you know, or people that are in college and their parents pay their tuition and pay their rent. It's not for the ED1 is not set up for the purpose in which it's portraying to be.
Right, so there are 3 points that you raise. I'll try to hit all of them. One is ED1. ED1 was, I'm not gonna wave a flag for Mayor Bass, but Mayor Bass's ED1 was an attempt to protect as much as she could for the city in terms of housing that wasn't already mandated by the state housing laws. What this does, so ED1 is not the law that's resulting in the development you're seeing. That's the state housing law. ED1 was a response to that to try to protect communities. Number 2 was, I'm sorry, you made 2 other points. But that was the major one. So it's hard to place it on ED1. We're talking about previous bills passed and signed by the governor that were put forward by State Senator Weiner, who's also the author of SB 71. So they're all along the same pathway, which is to maximize density in every neighborhood.
What was it? The point was when I was saying, is there a happy medium between the ED1 and the HPOZ? Is there a way?
Oh, right, HPOZ.
Yeah.
So there could be, but under this bill, Mayor Bass will no longer have authority to even have an ED1 carve out, which is currently what's protecting HPOZs.
Right.
Just to wipe all of that out. The state essentially is overriding all local control for development.
Question.
Okay, Michael, I don't know between you and Donna who had their hands up, but
I
I'll
think
call them
Donna
up.
was first.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell here because where Michael is on the Zoom.
Donna was next.
Let her go. Let her go. Let's
All
move
right,
on.
No, it's not about letting me go, but the bottom line is this. It's all the things they say are going to be the law. It's happening in certain communities. They don't put it everywhere. They don't do it everywhere. So all I'm talking about is equity. And the funny thing about it is there's none, because we're carrying the load of whatever can be smacked is going to be smacked in certain communities and not in others. So
Okay.
tell me about that part.
Okay, I will go after Michael. I was gonna say, I have a response, but Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to this discussion. There's an expediency to build housing that is kind of right now overriding common sense. For instance, this one of the restrictions that we're undergoing for the TOCs and the SBs and all those things are, you can build within a half a mile of the current transit points. Here's my question. Does that change as we grow our transit points? Because if they put a metro stop at Adams and Crenshaw, that directly affects the avenues.
Correct.
What's the community impact on future?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? It
So
would
we don't know?
override, yes, Michael, if now keeping in mind, they did this is, Michael's referring to the effort to do an EIR for the K-line northern extension. And in that process, Metro identified the intersection of Adams and Crenshaw as the potential site for another station. So indeed, if a station is built there, then this new law, if passed, would apply, and that would, in a major sort of way, affect the West Adams Avenues, which is the West Adams Terrace HPOZ, because it's going to be in the radius, and it is zoned single family, and it is zoned historic, and that would not matter under SB 79. Now, that said, the reason they were trying to rush that EIR for the northern extension was somebody thought just maybe, and this was before the election, that they would get the funds to really, really quickly actually build the darn thing before the Olympics. It's not going to happen. The funds are gone. I'm not even sure the funds for finishing the EIR are still there, to be honest. And so this is not in our lifetime. So there's going to be many new laws probably before that happens. I don't know, for good or bad. Just contextually, already our community, and what I mean by that from a planning point of view, not just UNNC's own boundaries, but the South Los Angeles Community Plan area from approximately Exposition North and the West Adams, Baldwin Hills, Lamert Community Plan area, also from approximately Expo North to Pico. So this is from, and it goes all the way, say the 110 freeway, and then all the way to Culver City along that axis, AXIS, is already zoned to accommodate 25% of the city's entire housing capacity. Already zoned for that. So we already have a lot of multifamily zoning and TOCs and TODs that bring us potentially up to 7-story buildings when you get Crenshaw at that intersection of Crenshaw and Expo. It's already zoned for 7-story buildings. So that's why I'm not positive of what the impact is. I am positive that Donna is correct, that our area is being, some would say besieged, and some would say getting the opportunity, but our area is seeing a lot more of these proposed projects already without SB 79. And the primary reason is that the cost of land is less than in the high opportunity areas. That said, if you drive down Motor, you drive down Overland, there's one after another, after another, after another, quite large housing developments just now open in the last 2 years, under construction. A lot of them have a lot of vacancies. Don't know why. Maybe they're very expensive, or maybe the units are being held back. But I'm not seeing that same level of construction. However, weirdly enough, I'm not seeing it on Venice Boulevard because I think the land is too expensive. And we're not really seeing it on Washington. We're seeing people buying lots near Washington and not on Washington. And I think it is because, again, the price differentials. And there's the problem with an SB 79 or things like that is it doesn't keep the projects on the commercial corridors or on the arterials, whether they're commercial or residential, and it makes circles instead of lines, so that these new rules can result in a building in the middle of a block. And even though I'm the one who said, let's not talk about the money, but that is the thing that does change the economic equation for the neighbors. If you have a house that's right next to Pico or Jefferson or Washington, you've always had a house that's right next door to a potential development site. But if you have a house in the middle of the block, not so much. And but it's TOCs that have done that, not just this thing. I see Steve has his hand up, and I cannot see, there's a second person.
Caesar's hand is up as well.
Okay, so you want to let Caesar talk, because Steve, You and I have talked quite a bit.
Sure. Yeah, like just like you said, let's talk more about the planning because development's gonna happen, and I think you replied to my email about planning a park on the
Yes, exactly.
on 36th Ave, and like just in case it does happen and we have to like more housing is developed, we need to give people, ourselves and our kids and everybody, more parks. Okay, our neighborhood is well known for not having enough parks, so what can we do to develop and plan for more parks and places to live in our neighborhood?
Right. And I think with SB 79 and all these initiatives, that's the part that's not included. You know, when they say it's gonna be, when Heidi says it's gonna be a 1.7 billion, that probably includes the cost for creating parks. I mean, in other words, no, not that infrastructure, just the sewers.
No,
Just
we're
as-
talking about real infrastructure.
Well, parks are real
No,
infrastructure.
they're not. No, they're not.
Well, okay, but then they should
So
be.
she's talking about water, sewer,
Mhm.
pipes, road upgrades, power grid, waste management, those kinds of infrastructure.
Okay, so I'm trying to say what the bill does not address then would be, you know, good zoning and planning includes like the Quimby funds, if I have the right, I'm identifying the right thing, that when you build 100 units, you're also paying a dollar amount for each unit into a fund to build parks. There's a problem with that program too, because it doesn't guarantee the park is in the same neighborhood, but there's a way to do this kind of legislation that would guarantee that trees are planted and watered and sewers are built. I mean, you know, there's the big and the small, but you know, I think when we walk down the street, we're more interested in the trees than we are in the what's underneath our feet in the sewers, although kind of we don't want to back up to our houses, but you know what I mean. Anyway, Steve, you're next.
Yeah, so a few points. I'm all in favor of parks. We definitely need more parks. We've been agitating for parks for a long time. This bill does not include any provisions other than increasing density. Wholesale, right? There's no scalpel here. This is a flamethrower. Two, there is no provision for affordable housing, period. This is market rate housing that they're talking about, not affordable housing. It's not dealing with homeless. It's not dealing with low income. It's dealing with market rate, 100% new housing. Three, you get more dedicated bus lanes on our major thoroughfares than you have that half-mile radius again going into those neighborhoods. So as soon as they put a dedicated bus lane on Washington or Adams through CD10, what you'll see is that becomes part of SB 71. That's our future. So it will cover every aspect of our area in the future. And again, this is a flamethrower. This is not a scalpel. It's more than a circle. This is looking to increase density everywhere. And Laura's absolutely right. One of the major reasons why we are shouldering 25% of the development of the city is because of the property values are less than in high opportunity areas. And I will also say the other part of the city that is shouldering a good burden is Southeast Los Angeles.
Oh, huge,
right?
yeah.
Within the similar kind of economic structure that we are. So you can't separate the economics from this at all. It's very much entangled. This bill is a giveaway to developers and banks. It has nothing to do with housing people who need housing.
Okay, so for this proposed CIS for tomorrow night, oh, Summer, I didn't see your hand before, sorry. Let me finish my thought. It's a limited number of words, you know, characters and spaces. And we're basically saying we support the city council in its opposition, and here's the reasons why. But we also want the city council to move forward, right? That's the CIS. In summary, I can put it back up I can put it up on the screen. But for the letter, do we that would go to elected officials and anyone else. Do we want to say this legislation needs changes? It needs to require true affordable housing, not 75,000 or 85,000 and up, but true affordable housing for people who are the least among us, the most needy with the least income, you know, ELI and VLI. And if it doesn't include significant proportions of that, then it's a shame, right? Something like that. It needs to include, you know, not necessarily, you know, should include funding, but if it doesn't include funding, it should at minimum include requirements where the developers are funding. You know, there's different kinds of funding sources. Not major infrastructure, but also those things which people need to have a quality of life living in an urban setting. And they include, you know, tree, you know, blah, 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 blah.
I'm happy to include those elements in the letter.
It needs to remove the reference to dedicated bus lanes, because you're right. They come, they go. I mean, you know, communities raise their hands, say, this isn't working for us, or the business owners. So this zoning should not be tied to dedicated bus lanes. It should just be eliminated from the ordinance, because you can't, you know, it just creates a situation where a developer today doesn't have the right to build, developer tomorrow does, but the developer a year from now does not. You know, because it's transitory.
Yes.
Transitory. I know it's a bit of a pun, but I didn't mean it as a pun. I mean that these dedicated bus lanes are sometimes experimental.
I hear you.
No way, because they aren't working for everybody else. And what else would we want to suggest to change it?
His HPOZs, historic cultural monuments, right? And it can't just be those. So,
Yeah,
for example,
let's not eliminate our heritage. I mean, that would be
Right.
the thing. Yeah, just say, especially at a time. I mean, it would be something eloquent, you know, especially at a time when we have leadership in, well, leadership is not a word I'd want to use, people, but leadership in Washington that is stripping our heritage right and left. Let's not here in California, where we've worked very hard to embrace our heritage through the use of designating districts. Some of them are thematic districts. Let's not undo that, because
the problem is, Laura, is how to craft this. So, for example, HPOZs, you have an area, right?
Yeah, but I
Circumscribed.
don't,
Just let me finish. With an HCM, that could be protected, but next door won't be protected.
okay, I understand that, and I don't know, I don't think we can fix that. Meaning, you know, you can't get the permit to demolish the HCM without going through hoops. And in some parts of the state, their local ordinance would say there's no demolition, period. Ours happens to allow demolition, but not without hoops. But I don't think we can get it to that final point. I don't know that SB 79 addresses HCMs. Doesn't say.
It doesn't address history at all.
No, I understand that, but we should. We're UNNC.
But I'm answering your question about the bill. You asked whether it actually addresses HCMs. It does not address historic monuments, HPOZs, etc. It makes them open and fair play.
Except that HCMs, or that is designated individual landmarks, in most jurisdictions are not demolishable. Los Angeles, unfortunately, is different.
But Laura, this bill overrides all local oversight.
No, it overrides all local zoning.
That's the oversight. The zoning is the oversight.
Yeah, but not for, okay. I think this is a nuance. I'm not sure it overrides the other legislations, because most jurisdictions do not have their historic resources sitting in a planning department. It's in a different section. Anyway, I don't know. Summer, Young, you have a
Oh, okay. I really like what Steve said. Also, I would like to ask, what happened to the weak ground? Street is already cracking. This neighborhood is very small. For the to bear the huge construction, even when the trucks came and take out the whatever the stuff, and it was really pounding on the little street we have. It's really cracking up the area where the sewer line manhole is right now. When I checked the cracks, it got bigger. Because
Right. That's what the city attorney is saying is going to cost $1.6 billion.
yeah,
for
but
infrastructure.
I'm so worried about safety too. You know what I mean? They're building the tall buildings next to real tiny houses like mine. What
Right.
happens? Something fell off that, and they don't have enough space around it for the firemen to come between mine and theirs, 2 feet away from my property line with the fence, 2 feet. Can anybody go in there to fight the fire or anything? Save somebody? I mean, and then they cut down any tree there is. Today they cut down tall tree. It was in the house, the yard. So that means they are gonna, come out all the way to where the grass is. I mean, they just cut down without any kind of remorse.
Okay. I understand, and that's what's happening, but we need to move forward on this CIS. So I'm gonna share it. Or do you want, Steve, did you adjust yours to incorporate?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well,
'Cause I just accepted your.
I know. We all accepted that I would be on top of things. I wasn't.
It's a minor change to the last sentence.
I understand
So why don't you
completely.
just show what you have?
I am showing what I have. You mean show what I wrote you? I could change.
You could show what you posted and
This is
remind
what I-
everybody that the CIS is limited to no more than 2,000 character and space.
So can you guys see this?
Yes.
All right. So this is what Steve drafted for our governing board for tomorrow night. And it says UNNC has a long record of supporting equity and diversity in affordable housing. We also support major housing / mixed use projects on our corridors instead of unstable character and historic neighborhoods. LA's housing crisis is experienced by people who are unhoused and Angelenos at risk of losing their homes. SB 79 does not include or encourage affordable housing. UNNC stands with other neighborhood councils and the city attorney in support of Council File 0002-S19, which opposes SB 79. SB 79 will destroy neighborhoods and communities by overriding existing zoning within a half-mile of major rail / bus stops without ensuring housing affordability, and hard-won generational equity in single-family homes in historically underserved, under-resourced communities like UNNC and CD 10. SB 79 will silence the voices of underserved communities that have been historically burdened with top-down zoning rules by removing all of the community's existing rights through standard processes and replacing those rights with ministerial review. Will also undermine our state-approved climate, transportation, and housing commitments. The law will allow, through density bonuses, structures as tall as 105 feet, 10.5 stories. Some of the most densely populated areas within the UNNC boundary are within a half-mile of a major rail stop. Thus, any property in those neighborhoods, including the middle of single-family residential, industrial, or commercial blocks. Oh, I have put an S in block to blocks, will be available for SB 79 development. SB 79 should be stopped before it eliminates local control of land use matters, impedes the city's ability to meet its housing commitment in our state-approved housing element, ignores and results in the loss of careful planning that created historic zones and specific and community plans, and destroys thriving communities and neighborhoods in LA. And this says, please act quickly, but the change was UNNC urges city council to act quickly. Was that what I did?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. UNNC urges city council to act quickly against SB 79's negative impact on our residential communities and the undermining of the city's housing element. And that took it to 1992 or something.
Something
This is
like that, yeah.
66. Anyway, so that's the draft posed CIS. Teresa.
I move to send this letter to the governing board for approval.
I second it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to take it down. See folks. And all in favor, please raise your hand either digitally or for real. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes.
You should note it passed unanimously.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Steve, for stepping up and drafting that. I appreciate that. It's an excellent letter, and I think it represents our collective position. I don't know why the city council has delayed. There are so many motions I see them come in where they do take a position on these assembly or state Senate bills, but they have not on this, and I do not know why. Maybe because it's controversial, but
I think that's it, Teresa. I could tell you that more than 100 cities have submitted opposition letters to SB 79. No cities have sent support letters, but none of the top 10 cities in population in the state have sent a letter. And of course, LA is the largest populated city in the state by an amazingly large margin. This is a highly politically charged item.
What community does he represent?
San Francisco somewhere.
Oh, okay, up north.
Yeah, but in the city.
Yeah, so individual representatives from cities, like individual council people, the city attorney from LA, have sent letters. One of the council people from the city of San Francisco sent a letter in support of the initiative. But more than 100 cities have sent letters in opposition.
Right. So Steve, for tomorrow night, we have on the agenda, you might have seen the agenda, something like 20 action items. It's terrible. So if you take 2 hours and divide by 20, it's kind of bad.
You could present it, Laura. I don't have any ownership.
No, that's not my point. Here's my point. I feel like we should just do a second motion that is authorizing the Planning and Zoning Committee to draft a letter with executive to approve it via email, so that we don't have
that. I move that.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think if once again, if the meetings are managed properly, that this can get through. Everybody should read the things in the agenda packet.
Well, we don't have a draft letter. We don't have a draft letter in the agenda packet yet, but
yes. Okay.
We have the CIS, Teresa.
The CIS is in there, but not the letter. It's not written yet.
I think we could tell the board that the letter will be based on the information in the CIS with some additional things like quoting the city attorney's letter.
Okay.
Is there a concern on time? What if there is no, if you can't meet tomorrow, if there aren't enough people or?
Well, I have confirmed 13, which is just barely enough as long as nobody reneges, which is always a problem. Oh, Michael, you're able to come tomorrow? Because I don't have an RSVP from you.
With bells on.
I would like to make So we have one motion that we voted on, which was for the CIS. I would like to make a motion that this committee recommends to the governing board that this committee will draft a letter to go to appropriate state and local officials about this bill or its equivalent in the assembly which would essentially enhance what's in the CIS, elaborate on what's in the CIS, and to be ultimately reviewed by the executive committee and approved, if possible.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Michael seconds. Teresa, do you still object?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so let's say all in favor. Show of hands. I'm up.
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Okay. It passes. All right, so we'll do that. And
I'm working on it. So with the
oh,
additional
I
items,
understand.
with the additional items that you put forward tonight, I'll have to probably get to this over the weekend. So, but I should have it to you no later than Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're all A, volunteers, and B, I don't know, but I don't think the assembly is voting by Friday. You know, I mean,
And also, I may have misunderstood because I thought you wanted to delay the CIS
no,
review
no,
tomorrow. Okay.
no, not at all.
CIS needs to move forward. We just need to make sure that the assembly is voting on SB 79 and not their own equivalent of the bill.
Right. Before we
And,
read.
I guess, sorry, if I could just have a quick question. Do we think it's going to go back to the assembly? And do we have any idea how Isaac Bryan voted on this?
Okay, I know it's going to go to the assembly, because that's the emails that are suddenly going out from all the advocates. And there's 80 members of the assembly, there's a seat that's either vacant or somebody's quite ill or something, but they
Yeah.
need to get 40 yeses.
Yes, I saw that. But do we know, Isaac Bryan is our assembly representative? Do we have any idea what his position is on this, or?
Definitely supported other of the housing initiatives. So I think we trying to figure, are we even allowed to meet officially on behalf of UNNC with him on a
So
topic?
who's the rep? Does that person, I can't remember. It used to be this guy Herman who used to come to our meeting.
Right. And he was a rep, not even the rep, and he left.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't the deputy. No, I don't think we know.
Why can't we invite someone, his representative, to come to a UNNC meeting?
We can't. No, I was saying, are we able to lobby him directly? I don't know.
I think we can find out. We could certainly ask his position and then make sure that
Sure.
he receives that, the letter when we send it out. But
I think that would be great. I think it would be great if Heather Hutt talked to him. So my plan is to CC Councilwoman Hutt on this letter. And I would hope that she and her representatives will talk to our assembly person about this.
I think it's a great idea.
I mean,
Too.
I'm looking at my emails and it does seem that I, Laura, am only getting emails that are the official assembly member Brian at outreach assembly whatever gov, and not from any person.
So can our chair talk to Hakeem about this and try to encourage him to get Heather on board and talk to Assemblyman Brian about this?
Oh, wait, I know the name of the person because Paula sent out an email. I'm gonna put it in chat because there's no way I can even. Okay. Shh.
I think some interaction from our council person with our assembly person would have more muscle than anything UNNC can do.
Well,
I
I
will
mean,
just say this, Steve, you may be right under this circumstance, but when Sydney Comlager Dove, her outreach person, Naomi Riley, used to come to the UNNC meetings. We could speak to her about things that were important when Comlager was in the state senate, or what was she?
wherever she was,
Yeah.
yes.
Wherever,
Right.
the senate or the state, wherever it was, we would be able to talk to them and say, hey, this was important to us. But that's because she would come to the meetings and we built up a relationship with her.
But
So-
my point being that CD10 is much larger than UNNC, and the council person has much more authority.
Okay, okay, first of all, if you guys look in chat, I just posted the name of the person who's supposed to be our new contact.
Okay.
And that's from an email that Herman sent to Paula when he left.
Okay.
And I feel that maybe what we can do is contact, I don't even know if that's a boy or a girl, Mr. Byfield.
We could find out. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
no, and ask, can we have a meeting? I mean, can they
Or
meet?
if we could just find out his position, if we know what his position is, maybe he's like already on board and we don't have
Yeah,
to.
but what I mean is, can we meet with our contact and talk about all of our issues, kind of like we did the other night, Teresa, with,
Comlager,
yeah.
yeah.
Can we have a meeting like that? And then this is a part of it, but it's not the only thing.
You're doing really well if you get anybody out of his office to do anything. I had to shame Herman Jones into even knowing we existed. So
Okay, but he left, so we don't get to beat Herman up anymore. And he wrote an email to Paula saying, this is your new contact. So I'm just saying,
And did Paula follow up and invite the woman to come to one of our meetings?
poor man. I doubt it.
Person?
Katara is a woman.
They
Thank you, Donna.
invite to our meetings. I don't know. No, I'm sure not. But I don't know that I want to invite someone to spend 5 minutes at our meeting. I think I want to invite someone to spend an hour at maybe the South LA Cafe with a group of us.
Great.
I'm
Let's-
just saying.
I think getting more opportunity there might help. And certainly
Yeah.
someone from our councilwoman's office who has contact with them might be helpful too, to get two of them.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, okay. But all that said, I have no idea I do know that Isaac Bryan has voted yes, not no, on some of the other housing initiatives. And from his own experience, I mean, I've heard him talk as a renter, and I think he was in the foster care system. I mean, that's his passion. So finding housing for himself has been difficult. He has moved from one place to another, even while he's been the assemblyman.
Okay.
He's a
Well, I will
renter.
say that he was adopted, Laura, so I don't know how long he was in foster care, but he was adopted.
Yes, by his foster parents, I think.
I think it would be interesting to hear his story on it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he hasn't spent any time, and his people haven't spent any time with us, but that might be something we have to take an effort to correct instead of relying on them to make the effort to correct. That's all.
That's for sure.
No.
Let's
Uh,
make,
Yeah. Yeah, because this is maybe just one issue. If we can find common ground on other things, maybe we can find common ground on this. All right.
By the way, I heard from Herman Jones only because Mike Davis reached out to him and told him he needed to make sure he spoke to our community, because he never even returned a phone call.
Did Mike Davis keep his position, or has he?
He did not keep his position. I don't know what he's doing.
So who's our person there at Public Works?
Good question.
We don't have a person at Public Works. I can tell you who the commissioners are, but there's some change happening there because City Council may be taking away their salaries. They were the only salaried commission members.
Yes, exactly.
and,
And high salaries.
Yeah, 150. And I think during the budget process, I remember Tim McAllister requesting that there's a review on them receiving a salary when no other commissioners do. So I don't know what happened with that, but Steve
Well, no,
Kane, who is from KYCC, is now the president.
Steve Kane, Kane.
Kane, Kang, sorry, King.
So,
And a woman named Faith Mitchell.
yes, I
um,
know. Actually.
Yeah, she's from Metro. She's a lawyer, and I can't think of the other two people, but the
Well,
former president.
Faith Mitchell was a South LA area planning commissioner. Was.
She was also
Yeah.
with Metro, and she's also an attorney with Metro.
Right.
But the
Well,
former
if she's an
president,
attorney with
Corsan,
Metro,
has
why-
left.
I'm sorry, if she's an attorney with Metro, why would she need two salaries?
She was. I don't know if she is. I said she was. Yeah.
Got it.
But Corsan, who was the former president, left and now works out of the mayor's office as her deputy of community engagement. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because that theoretically is a much lower salary,
I don't know.
but I'm just being catty now. All right. All right, okay. Is there any old business, ENS, anything that anyone caught their eye that we want to discuss? Or do we want to go home?
Want to go home.
You're at home.
I am not at home.
That
Yeah,
was me.
Michael Kimbrough. She's talking to
You
Kimbrough.
guys are all at home. Hi.
That's what I said to Michael. What did you know?
You're right.
So Michael, I can count on you for tomorrow night, it sounds like.
Yes.
And
What are you serving? What are we eating?
maybe I'm
Whatever you bring, Michael.
I'm actually going to run from here over to an Indian restaurant that I just heard good things about and see what they might have. But I'm guessing Olive Garden lasagna because that's just so simple.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone. This was a really important topic and discussion. I appreciate it.
I feel like we chased.
You're talking about the food, right, Steve?
Yes, absolutely. What could be more important than food?